Hey guys, Glenn Twiddle. I'm an idiot, right? I have a legend from the USA on a call with me. I forgot to push record for the first 30 seconds. So here's my intro. You're going to catch this interview a few seconds into it. You didn't miss basically anything. But his name's Bryan Casella. He's only been in the game 4 years and he has already taken the industry by storm, doing a fortune in business. You're going to see why on our interview. You got about an hour of free training from a guy who charges and does really, really well selling his coaching. I met him in LA when I was doing an event with Josh Altman from $1 Million Listing and with the Real Estate Uncensored guys in LA. We had 400 odd people in the room. Bryan was a rock star. So hope you appreciate this hour-long training. And let's throw over to our live training with me and Bryan Casella. I hope you enjoy it. Bye for now.
You want the normal real estate training you've been told a million times? Make cold calls, knock on doors. Best be switching off now, because in this podcast we go out of the box using unknown tactics, primarily that the real estate industry's never heard of, in order to get you called in more often, convert those listings, and get more success without the painful cold calling. Listen up, we're in for a ride. This is Real Estate Renegades.
I said, it's communication, right? At the end of the day, whether I generate my own lead, they come in through Facebook, I send out a mailer, I'm going to be having a conversation with a human being. And I'm going to have to, at some point, sit down with them and get them to sign on a dotted line or a contract, as we call it, right? Get them coffees for closers only, right? So it's funny that I love that movie, man. I watch that scene like every day. So I said, okay, it's got to be the communication. So I said, okay, coming from my athletic background in basketball, I never really studied sales. I had never done sales. No mastery at all of linguistics. What I did bring to the table was that tenacity, the discipline, and the commitment to do it. So I just started literally eating up everything online, watching Tom Hopkins, Brian Tracy, Grant Cardone, other real estate coaches like Mike Ferry, Kevin Ward. And, they were all talking about learning NLP. And I started looking into NLP. I looked into hypnosis. I looked into Milton Erickson and conversational hypnosis. I literally obsessed on everything that had to do with linguistics and communication. And I just committed myself to mastery, body language, everything. And I was just a student of communication. Like if you could think of a monk, in a Buddhist temple or something like that literally dedicates their life 24/7 to it. That's the kind of approach that I took to it. And when I started in real estate, making phone calls and going door to door, I committed, Glenn, I don't know if I ever told you this, to 2 hours a day of role playing and practicing my scripts. Did I ever tell you that?
Wow, no. But you know what? Now that you have, absolutely no surprise when I saw the mastery you demonstrated in like 4 years in the game. It's not like you're a lifer, and when I saw that mastery, now that of course he did. That's how you get that level of mastery of the English language that I witnessed on stage. So, because it's interesting that for those guys who know me, you will know that what Bryan just said is exactly my path. My first ever product was a product called Advanced Hypnotic Selling, because I, again, studied clinical hypnotherapy, studied Milton Erickson, studied NLP, and it was the gaps in the NLP world, the NLP gurus and all of that led me to, because some of their training was a little incomplete, I found. So I had to go and study clinical hypnotherapy and the Milton Erickson work to round out that study. So I had a product called Advanced Hypnotic Selling based on those similar principles. So, man, that's why, there's definitely a resonance there. That's probably why I had so much admiration for you, because I know what to look for in influence and persuasion mastery based on my similar study.
Absolutely, man. And it was through that very quickly people started seeing the difference. I remember walking into my office. It was a Century 21. And when you hear this, you're going to be like, yeah, that's Bryan. I walked up to the front, Glenn. They had basically one of those dry erase boards, and they had the top 10 in the company. And without anybody knowing me, I said, hey, everybody, listen to me. You see this top 10 list? By the end of the year, I'm going to be on this thing. Watch. And everybody laughed, man. They laughed me out of the room. But when I left that room, I said, I will be on that thing, whatever it takes. And I fast forward, I think it was 10 or 11 months later before the year was up, and I was already, I believe, number 7 on the top 10 for the company, which was a very respected and established Century 21 company, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't like just some average company. They were, I believe, in the nation top 25 or 50, and in California they were top, I think, number 6 out of all the Century 21 companies. So this wasn't like some run-of-the-mill company where it's all average producers.
Yeah, where there's only 10 and you're on the top 10.
Yeah. So, and everyone else in the top 10 had been in the business at least, I believe, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years. So for me to come in like that, but I mean, this ties in directly to what we're talking to. It's just that commitment to, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to just be number 1. And if I have to swim with the sharks and eat them, I'm going to do it.
Wow. I love that. I mean, it's like, and again, I don't know the sport intimately, nor do I know anything, but the Babe Ruth, how he used to call the shots, you did that. You went in there and you called the shot before you had any right to call the shot. You know what I mean? That's good.
Absolutely. And this is from somebody who had no sales experience. I had never done public speaking. In fact, I was a little fearful or hesitant of public speaking and really putting myself out there. But the commitment to it and the desire was so great that it overrode anything else. The analogy I always give people is, when you really want something bad, Glenn, picture yourself as being the bridge, and any kind of fear or hesitation is like the water that runs underneath it, and you just walk right over it and you're above it.
Nice, man. Well, I often talk with my guys a lot about real estate being in 4 quadrants, kind of the attract as in the marketing to get them to know who you are and to get into their world, into their lounge room or whatever the case may be, to do the next thing, which is convert and close the deal, the listing presentation. And then there's doing the job and staying in touch and things. But I mean, what I witnessed from you, mate, was absolute mastery of all 4, with particular emphasis on, of course, those first 2. So let's start with that first one. The stuff you do in order to get attention. Like, let's give the guys some real value. And, my guys are used to me doing that. And, we're sitting here on Facebook Live. We're not charging a dime. My guys might be watching this on a recorded module that I email out to them. Bryan hasn't asked them for a cent. Glenn hasn't asked them for a cent.
Yeah.
And the way I liken it is, how about we show you that we can add some value to you by, heaven forbid, a novel concept actually adding value to you. What are some of the things, some very real take-home strategies that someone can do in that first quadrant when they go from an unknown, like Bryan was, into how do we get into that lounge room in that first opportunity to list when they don't know who we are?
Right. Now, aside from the standard practices you hear, Glenn, like, call the expireds, door knock them for sale by owners and all that, I'll give them an insight into the strategy that I use, for example, going door to door and cold calling that they can implement that's really going to help them. When I started, I saw and learned from all the top gurus that, hey, you need to find people that want to do business now. And that's great, right? If you put yourself out there, if you take action, you will find that, no doubt, right? But my thought process was, what if somebody's not ready right now, but they're going to be ready in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? What can I do to not only capture the now business, however, also capture that later business? So what I started doing when I started canvassing door to door and cold calling was I made an effort to squeeze every drop of juice of every single conversation that I had. And if somebody wasn't ready now, near the end of the conversation, I would say, well, Bob, when it comes time to sell for you in 6 months, do you have a go-to agent? And you being a master, pointing to yourself right there is the key. But, and most people would say, well, no, I have a cousin, but no, I don't have a go-to person. So at that point, what I would do is exchange information with them. And at the time when I started, Glenn, because I didn't know better, I would upload everybody. I would type their name into an Excel spreadsheet. I'd put their name, their number, their address. And then in the end, I would put a note saying, Bob will be ready in 6 months. He's moving to Florida. And I made an effort to look at this list every day. And you fast forward 2 or 3 months later, all of a sudden, all these people I had met a few months before just start converting like crazy. I believe it was the 6th month in, Glenn, where in 1 month, just from people I had met going door to door, not cold calling, I got 5 listings that month from follow-up, from door knocking I did months prior, right? So just that little tweak made a huge transformation in my business, man. And we're taught to be so, I need business now. And that's great. But what are you doing to further your success and catapult you 3-6 months from now, which is really when you're going to see that big curve. You know how you see people's success, it goes like this and then it just shoots up. that's going to be one of the catalysts for that I believe a lot of people don't really pay attention to because they're so focused on, oh, I need Glenn to list his home right now.
And I mean, I often think when we're actually prospecting, like you're talking about, because I often differentiate the world of marketing and attraction and pull versus prospecting, which is us pushing and that's going out there. But in that world, I often think, what are the odds of me knocking on that door at the very moment, if their life is this screen, then that moment that they need a real estate agent but haven't yet called their go-to guy, you think about that window of opportunity. It might be once every maybe 7 years in Australia is the average. Once every, so that's 7 times 3. So that's the odds of 1 in 2,000. We may as well go to the casino. Let's go to Vegas and stick it all on the thing. We got better odds. So that's what I taught my guys is an ideal interaction. Sure, if you get a listing now, that's wonderful. But an ideal interaction, you punch the air if you get contact details and implied permission to stay in touch. That's it. That's a win. If you get 20 of them in a day, high five yourself and go to the bar. You've done well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I believe it's just we're taught to be very wanting instant gratification, and we're so short-sighted now that we fail to look for because when I tell people, if I could guarantee you that if you follow my strategies in a year from now, you're going to be making a lot of money, would you do it every day? Everyone's like, well, yeah, of course. But because it's not, quote, guaranteed, nobody wants to put in the work when, in fact, if you do put in the work, it in essence is guaranteed. You just have to follow the strategies. And when we linked up, Glenn, that's what I love about it is you're a rock star at what you teach. And since I'm still nitty gritty, roll up your sleeves, what you teach and what I teach together is what really creates that harmonious just monster to go out there and capture like everybody,
Absolutely. And think about if anyone does have that I need to get now business and that's what they're focused on. Here's what I would love if your viewers and my viewers and if everyone kind of around the industry could get this embedded in their soul. Imagine this. If that's their mentality, and let's say that's their mentality, right? That's not us. That's their mentality. If that's their mentality, think about this. Extrapolate that 3 years. You're going to be doing the same damn thing, still looking for that next hustle, still looking for that next deal. And it'll never get any better. Sure, maybe by attrition, it might grind out a half-decent attraction business. But what we're suggesting, and Bryan's absolutely a perfect example of, and he's just shown you how it can work like this, we're setting out with intent, with volition, to set out a future business, attraction-based business from the outset. And that's what we end up getting. All of our students, when they execute this strategy, they end up getting people call them. I mean, imagine how easy the real estate industry is when people, just 20 or 30 people a month, call you up and say, hey, Bryan, we're finally ready now, mate. When can you pop round? I mean, that's the go. Rather than, have you got, although I do need to pick your brain on this because I've already told a bunch of my guys, we love it. Tell me about your magic referral asking script. So you've got some rapport with that person. They say, nah, Bryan, we're not moving anywhere yet. What's the magic line you say to ask if they know anyone that's the Bryan Casella special that Glenn Twiddle is going to steal forever?
Let's see. I have a couple go-to ones, Glenn. You know what? This is the way that I set it up. I asked them a question. I would say, let's say it's you. I'd say, Glenn, at this point, are you 100% comfortable and confident with myself and my service for the listing and selling of your home in the future?
Oh, man, we've only just met, man, but you seem pretty nice, bud. And I love that Lamborghini in the front thing. You take me for a drive in that, boy. We got a deal, man. You seem like a pretty cool dude.
When we close escrow, sure. So I would say, for any extended friends and family of yours or people that you would want to make sure that they're taken care of if they were to buy or sell a house, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you would want to send them to the best person, of course, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
Cool. So, if you could think of anybody right now, maybe at work, maybe somebody in the neighborhood, who can you think of maybe right now who could use our services?
Man, you know what? There's probably no one now, man. No, I don't know anyone. I haven't got any friends. No, I'm just kidding. But that's what they say, isn't it? No, I don't know anyone. But no, man, I've got your card now, man. I'll keep you in mind. But there's no one I can think of right now.
And, just to interrupt real quick, Glenn, I set it up that way because I want them to be like, yeah, okay, he's good. I wasn't sure if you meant me calling you like I already met you or we're just at the door.
Understood.
But I also implement what Greg does. If I meet them at the door, I'll kind of say, do you know this neighbor? Do you know that neighbor? Do you know that neighbor? Tell me about them. Tell me about them. So it's more me feeling you out. If I feel like we're already doing really well, I might just ask you directly. If I feel like you're still a little bit distant from me, then I might have to massage my way in there.
Oh, see, now in my head, you know how things get all mixed up in your head? I'm wondering, it might be a Greg McDaniel line that I'm stealing, not a Bryan Casella line. Damn it. And if so, Greg, I'm sorry, man. Is it Greg's or yours? The way we say, now, Bryan, tell me this. Out of all those neighbours you just mentioned, which one do you need me to get rid of?
Yeah.
Is that a Greg line?
I think it's a combination because I use that one too.
Oh, so why? Because that's why that one had me in the audience when you said it, like literally tears rolling down. Because humor is a great, bring the barriers down, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I kind of got that one in the moment, at least the way I kind of created it, Glenn, just because I was getting somebody who was just stonewalling me over and over. I was like, man, how can I get through to this guy? So I was like, you know what who before I go, who's one neighbor right now that you would just like for me to get out of here for you? And he started laughing. He's like, it's funny that you say that. I just got in an argument with this guy across the street. I want him the hell out of here. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. But I made a mental note because you're right, humor is huge. And I said, man, that's what got me to break the ice with this guy and finally get him to be honest with me and real. And it's stuff like that I pepper into everything I do that really allows me to connect with people on a deeper level. Because if I do a presentation with you for 20, 30 minutes, you can expect to laugh at least 2, 3, 4 times because I'm going to inject it into what we're doing in our dynamic because it automatically, I believe, not only lowers resistance, but it makes it feel like we're more on a friendship basis as opposed to just a professional, me sitting on one side of the table and you on the other side. And I'm kind of like that authority figure, who's kind of like interrogating you, right?
And that puts barriers up. That doesn't bring them down. That puts them up. They got salesperson's natural resistance because, and we all have it. If anyone's trying to sell you something, you're in the Lamborghini showroom. And by the way, guys, you got to check out Bryan on Facebook and check out that car, man. It is awesome. So, if you're in the showroom and a slick salesman comes up and says, "Hello, sir, how are you today?" Then your natural response is, "Oh, just having a look." You're there to buy a damn Lambo. But, so guys, just to give you guys a sidebar without Bryan listening, right? That's how good this guy is, that he has a golden line like that one that we've seen work, where you say, hey, out of all your neighbors, who do you need to get rid of? And he didn't even know which magic line. That's how much he's got. He didn't even know which magic line I was referring to because that's gold, man. That's a great way to kind of inject humor into the asking for referrals because no one wants to hear, oh, let me annoy your friends. Who do you know who's selling? But definitely people are cool on having a laugh, and that's a great way to broach that subject, I think.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that we talked about this last part because I don't know if you've noticed this shift, Glenn. The whole authority figure, shove it down your throat, that used to be really effective 30, 40 years ago. But I don't know if you've noticed that shift now where people want to maybe not be your best friend, but they want to feel like, okay, Glenn's a friend. I'm going to work with him because I feel like we like each other. We can trust each other. And there's a connection here, not just he's telling me what to do.
Absolutely. And what I've found is that shift from when we use the word authority, here's kind of the tweak that we've made. It's okay for you to be what I call a celebrity, right? Yeah. I don't mind if you are well-known, well-sought after, and I suppose by some definition an authority. You've authored a book. Yeah. You have people come to you for advice. You are the go-to guy in your field. But when we're one-on-one, we're cool. You know what I mean? It's like I'm mates with a celebrity in his field. I'm friends and we're mates, even though everyone else in the world is fighting to get his attention. And that's kind of the shift that I like. Not the dictate terms type of authority, but the celebrity famous that everyone, it's almost like you need to act like you don't want their business. You just want to hang with them. But okay, well, for you, Bryan, I'll take you on as a client, right? Just because it's you. messages because it's
right.
nice, man. So no, good analogy, bud. So all right. So what sort of you gave a door knocking? Did you give us a door knocking script? What was some of the stuff you actually said when you were out there knocking on the door? Stone cold. Let's give them a script. Stone cold. We're knocking on a door, and of course that could probably be tweaked to a phone call. But what are some of those initial dialogues, and are they laden with some beautiful embedded language commands and stuff? Like what would be some of the scripts you would give?
A little bit, Glenn. It's more coming from a place of contribution and giving value, as opposed to just going right into the questions. A typical script would be, hey, I'm Bryan from XYZ Realty. We just sold a home 1556 Elm Street. Who do you know who wants to sell, right? Whereas I might come and say, you know what, Mr. Owner, my name is Bryan. I'm a local real estate agent. Hey, I was actually popping by real fast to let you know we've actually had, in your neighborhood, 46 homes sell in the last 30 days. Did you know that?
Yeah, okay.
Man. I had no idea. I'm like, and you know what's even crazier, Mr. Owner, is that out of those 46, 32 actually sold at or above their asking price. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. What's going on there? I thought the market was in the toilet.
Yeah, right. And now I already have them hooked at that point, at least a little bit, because they're intrigued. And then that's when I get into the body of a script. We know the market's moving, right? We just actually sold one around the corner. We had 6 offers on it. You can go wherever you want from it. But after that point, once I have them hooked, the level of interaction is much different. So right then, after that initial clip in the beginning of those 2 sentences is when I get into the, how long have you lived here? I may throw in a question like, well, how has the neighborhood changed in the time that you've been here? Okay. And they'll tell you, hey, it's gotten better, it's gotten worse. I'll be like, by the way, how long have you lived here? Oh, 15 years. Wow. Okay, cool. Well, have you guys ever thought about, making a move at some point, maybe in the future? And it just that beginning portion I noticed, Glenn, is huge because it activates the law of reciprocity, right? If I give you a little bit, you're going to be a little bit more likely, not for sure, but a little bit more likely to engage with me. And that's all I need. If you can engage with me on one sentence, you're mine. That's all I need, right? And that also I know a lot of agents say, well, I'm not bringing in any value to the door when I call. What can I do? That script alleviates that pressure off you because you're actually genuinely coming from contribution because you're giving information. I've never, Glenn, I can tell you, and for everybody watching, because they're going to say, well, the internet has all the information. I've never had one owner ever, whether I called or door knocked, and gave that script that said, yeah, I already know, ever.
And that's thousands of interactions. That ain't out of the 5 people I did. There was none. There's thousands of people.
It's crazy, man. And normally the information that they have is incorrect. I've had people in the last 3 years, Glenn, tell me, oh, I heard the market's in the tank. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is the craziest market since 03, 04, 05 when it got crazy. And that in itself at times piques interest in them because they pushed their plans aside to move because they thought the market was bad when in fact it's good. And now I'm the one that reignites that in them. And now we're having a conversation. And just like you said, I'm going to be that first one now who's their go-to. So it's an element of giving value and also fishing out real motivation if there is, because some people are misinformed a lot. I'm sure you see this all the time, Glenn, where you start talking to people about real estate and they throw some line to you like, oh yeah, I heard from my uncle that, agents are going to be, out of here in the next year because of this new app. And you're just kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. The dreaded Uber of real estate. How often have we heard the next Uber of real estate? Here's another one.
It gets old, man. It gets old.
I get it. So let me throw one to you actually. As you were talking, I'll just maybe add one, and we'll maybe critique how good I think I am, and you might tell me, Glenn, come on, man, you're missing the boat here. But here's one. After you've injected a few of those questions like that, the way I ask that similar question, see, after they've said, how long have you lived here? And they say, oh, yeah, 15 years. That's a good sign, right? If they say, how long have you lived here? They go, oh, yeah, we bought and we closed last week. Well, okay, that's maybe not going to be a listing. They're going to be here for a ways. So say there's a bit of momentum and we're sort of talking and it seems to be friendly. There's energy. And remind me, I do need to ask you about energy. But the way I like to ask that when we know we're pretty sweet is I like this question. Bryan, how long do you think, based on the fact you've been here for that long, how long do you think it'll be before this place kind of no longer suits, the needs of yourself, your family, whatever the case may be? If you had to guess. right? So instead of saying, are you thinking of selling, yes or no, it's how long? Is it now?
Yeah.
Is it forever? Is it they'll drag me out of here in a pine box? Is it 2 years, 5 years, 8 years? It's not letting them say, oh, yeah, okay, I'll keep that in mind. Or, yeah, no, it's saying you want a time frame. So how long do you think it'll be before this place kind of, and that's the way I kind of like to ask it. So first off, my question is, that makes some sense to you with all your training? Because you're as well trained, if not more trained than I in that world. I kind of like it.
That is great, Glenn, because it's very open-ended, but at the same time, like you injected the things at the end, like, oh, is it in a couple months, a couple years? Now you're kind of giving them a guide for them to give you that specific answer, which I think is genius, because at times I think people forget that when we do knock on a door, people aren't used to having those interactions every day. So they're already a little bit flustered, right? Their fight or flight may be activated a little bit. So by you throwing the question, it may even further short circuit their brain, but you peppering in that little thing at the end, couple months, a year or two, what do you think? It kind of gives them a guide to hook onto, right? And then guide their thought process. So I think
and one of the magic things to add there that I always add is, especially if I even sense, so you've got to be in tune with their energy. I don't mean that in a weird way. I mean body language and things. If I sense there's anything, if you had to guess, so Bryan, if you had to guess, would it be kind of now, next year, 3 to 5 years, 10 or more? If you had to guess, what would it be? I mean, if you had to guess is magnificent. And again, we talk about that. I've never had anyone not give me a number when I throw in the if you had to guess. Sometimes they'll go, oh, I've no idea. Well, if you had to guess, would it be, and I credit the big man, Tony Robbins, for that one. Tony, you're the man. If you had to guess.
Genius, man. And then, of course, everything else you're doing within, your body language, all that.
All of that.
Coming out,
well, let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about, seriously, I know that we can't give a 2-year-long masterclass immersion in energy, in language, in analog marking, in point and all of that stuff. But how do we, at the door or on the phone, because again, they can hear it in tonality, how do we get a disarming energy about us when we are delivering a script and we've learnt our script word perfect? Is there any tactics that we can impart on this training that allow them to not feel like we're a scumbag salesman like every other salesman that's ever interacted with us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple things we can talk about, Glenn. Number one of the most effective things that I've done, especially at the door, and it works over the phone too, and it's very simple, but people forget this, is to smile, right? Smile, like say, for everybody watching, whether you watch it now or the recording, say a sentence, just normal like this, and then say it with a smile and notice the difference. Your energy, right? Especially if it's over the phone, because they're going directly off your voice. Yep. That alone will get you miles ahead. That's why I have a mirror. You know how the old school trainers would tell us to have a mirror, Glenn?
Yep.
I saw a lot of value in that, because before getting into sales, I had a very neutral face, or almost people would think I was angry. And I've completely changed that. When you met me, I was all smiles and I'm all over the place. That's been a constant progression for me.
Wow.
I had to force myself to do it. I wasn't like that before, Glenn. I don't know if I ever told you this. That's been like me molding the clay, like really working and doing it.
Well, it feels so natural, because I now that you say that, I think, the type of bloke that's going to walk into Century 21 and say, see that board, mofos, I'm going to own your... I mean, that's got some intensity. So it's almost like you need that intensity in the heart.
Yeah.
But when you're with the human, it's got to be all love. And that's a great point you make.
Yeah. And you brought up energy, right? People will vibe off your energy and match it. We talk about mirroring and matching, which is very key, very fundamental. But even on an energetic, from an energetic standpoint, before I even pick up the phone or knock on the door, I check my energy. I need to make sure that it's good, right? These are all the intangibles that we're not really taught. We're just taught, hey, deliver the script in a conversational way, right?
And what does that mean? In a conversational way. Those words don't in any way suggest how to do that,
Absolutely. And one thing that really helped me too, if we're going to specifically talk about the scripts, is I would add things in the middle of it. Like we hear about repeating and affirming, right? Acknowledging what the person said, but I would add stuff in the middle. If they say they moved from San Diego, I'd be like, wow, San Diego's beautiful. I try to go there as often as I can. I love that place. And then I'll ask the next question. even inserting that gives it that conversational human element, right? And it's not like I, quote, went off the script, which is what the trainers will say, hey, you can't go off the script. But you have to think of it as like a dance. I tell people, you're going back and forth. I give you a little bit, then you give me a little bit. And it's this back and forth. It's like this rhythm that we get into. And I would say those are definitely some things we can talk about. I know we could, from a linguistic standpoint, everything, talk about this all day, but smiling, being enthusiastic, having a good energy, and then adding your own element in there, right? The in-betweens. That's what I call it, the in-between the lines. What are you adding? What's your personal flavor that you're injecting into it? I believe that's what really makes it more conversational than anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
And from a marketing perspective, because as you know, many of my guys know, and as you might have got, I'm all about marketing and attracting people to me rather than prospecting. Now, you've just branded up a beautiful Lamborghini, and I saw it all driving to Vegas. I saw it well documented on your YouTube channel and things. So, things like that. Tell me about some of your favorite marketing principles to get the Bryan Casella name out there to the marketplace in ways that, that get people's attention.
Yeah. Well, I can give you a few things, Glenn, that work for me. I decided from day one that I want to demonstrate to the world who I am and not hold back, right? I noticed a lot of people around me hold back, and I said, you know what? I'm going to give them BC. I'm going to give them Bryan, because I feel like if I don't, I'm doing two things wrong. I'm not clearly differentiating myself to a potential client, and at the same time, all the people that follow me who are not on the real estate side, but maybe just an individual watching me for inspiration, I feel like I'm not going to send the light for them as much as I could if I held myself back. So to me, that's a double win. And that's really big, because a lot of the stuff that I do is what's gotten me my following, right? And I would say that's principle number one. Principle number two is I'm not worried about how many views I get, Glenn. I'm worried about how much value am I giving to the potential client or the potential person watching this. I have almost 600 videos now for free on YouTube, Glenn, either that are client-centric, meaning I'm giving direct information to a consumer, or I'm giving advice on mindset for an individual, or a body language tip, or how to be a better speaker. It's just give. And here's the last one. And this is, I think, one of the reasons that I'm attracting so many people is I'm in your face 24/7. Every time you turn on Facebook, every time you turn on Instagram, every time you go on YouTube, wow, Bryan put a new video. Oh my God, here's another post. I'm doing statuses, videos. I'm just in your face. You can't not see me, Glenn. I'm sure every time you're about to go to sleep and you're laying in bed, you're like, here's this damn Bryan guy again. Here's this car. Here's a video. I can't get rid of this guy. And I don't know if you remember this. Tony Robbins said this, I want to say about 10 years ago, Glenn. He said at the time when they measured this in like the mid 90s, for you to become a recognized brand in somebody's mind, they had to see you 4 times. By the time he did that speech in the late 2000s, like 2007 or 8, it had already multiplied to 16 times. And I'm sure now, 10 years later, it's probably doubled or tripled again.
Yep.
So my question to your audience or everybody watching would be, what are you out there enough? Because we have this thing where we're like, oh, we don't want to be in people's faces too much because we're going to annoy them. But you'll be forgotten. I guarantee you, if you saw me stop posting today, in a couple of weeks, people are already going to forget about me. They might, for a couple of days, they might be like, oh, what happened to Bryan? There's automatically going to be a negative assumption about it. Something happened to me, or maybe I went bankrupt. And at the same time, you'll be forgotten like this, right? Look at every guru like Gary Vee. Every time I look on Gary Vee's page, he has a new video and a new message. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to push your brand. The currency today is attention. Are you going to get some, or are you not? That's the final verdict right there.
Dude, Mike, anyone in my crew that's watching this are going, no wonder you love that dude so much, Twiddle, because they literally know that I am like like they think, oh, you click unsubscribe on my email list and that's going to be the last time they see me. Oh my God, you don't know me at all, do you? You can't unsubscribe from a marketer because we are omnipresent. You look anywhere. There's no button to unsubscribe from following Bryan Casella, and you've unsubscribed from me years ago. right? Because I annoyed you with a couple too many emails, heaven forbid. But there's no button to unsubscribe from Bryan Casella sharing this video to you. And he's going, there he is again. There's no button to unsubscribe from me being on TV under Arnold Schwarzenegger's arm at his house playing poker on Channel 9 News. You know, there's no button to unsubscribe from omnipresence. So, yeah, you know, it's like there's that song "Killing Me Softly" that talks about the person sitting in the audience hearing the life of someone else through the words. That's me. When you were saying that, I'm going, "Killing me softly" with his song, man. It's exactly the way I teach our guys to do. We need to smash them because they're not thinking about us at all when they're living their life out there, are they? They're not sitting there going, "I wonder what that Bryan Casella's doing today. That real estate guy, what's he doing?" They're not thinking about us. So cool, man. Let's segue real, because I know, man. Thank you so much for a little bit of your time here, man. Let's get Brian's greatest hits on converting. We're in the room. They've decided 6 months after we knocked on the door, and they've decided they liked us. They've watched a few videos. They know a little bit about what we're all about, and they call you in to sell their home. What are some of the magic conversion dialogues? And let's be specific on one thing that's annoying our guys lately is, Brian, look, I like you, man, but these fees, man. I've got a guy who'll just put the thing up on a website. He'll charge me next to no money. Man, you're asking me for half a year's salary for this commission, dude. I need some help here.
Okay. I'll give you one of my magic lines, Glenn. I would say, Glenn, you did receive our pre-listing package that we sent you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And you saw the comparison of what we get people, the list to sales price ratio versus the average agent, like this other one that you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, I saw. I had a quick glance over that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me pull it out again for you right here and put it right here. So if you notice, right, the average agent, if you see right here, will list a home at 100% of what they listed for. And on average, right here, what do you see that they're selling it for? Well, it says 92 to 95.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
94%. So that's 6% that you lose in equity, correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's how real estate's done, isn't it? Isn't that how it works?
Let's put this in perspective, Glenn. That means if we listed your home today for $1 million, you would sell it for $940,000, which means $60,000 of your equity is lost in the middle. You following me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now look at what our list to sales price ratio is. You see this number?
Okay, 102%. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So in essence, working with us, you see the difference? What is that, an 8% difference?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Is it making a little bit more clear to you now why we charge a full service fee versus some of these flat fee brokers out here who are just putting a sign in the yard and so forth?
Yeah, understood. But I guess, Brian, I got to say, if that's 60 grand that I'm definitely saving now, and there's maybe a 60 grand that you're going to get, do you see how it's kind of like a bird in the hand, two in the bush kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I understand. And you do realize, Glenn, how this process works once we put your home on the market. Did I go into a thorough process for you to understand this, or are you still a little bit in the clouds about it?
Still a little bit in the clouds, yeah. What do you mean by that?
Now, obviously, you saw that 90% of the time plus, there's going to be another agent involved in the transaction, correct?
Okay, yes.
Okay. So in essence, that 60 grand that you're seeing that you're giving to me isn't going into my pocket. I'm actually effectively splitting it with the other broker, right? Okay. Now, we put your home for sale. There is what's called a selling office compensation, right? Which is the commission that we're going to offer the other agent, correct? And in this moment right now, Glenn, do you have any idea how many homes the average agent sells in a year?
I'd say, I don't know, they're in sales, one a week, 50?
Well, here in California, it's actually only 3 or 4 a year.
Wow.
So, and the reason I'm bringing this up, Glenn, is that person may have the buyer for your house. Now, if I'm only selling 3 or 4 houses a year, Glenn, would you say that me getting the sale, if I submit an offer, is going to be pretty important to me?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sure. Now, when we list these homes on the MLS, one of the first things that you can see there listed is the selling office compensation. Right? Okay. So let's say we were to list your home tonight for a reduced commission. I'm offering less commission to the other agent, right? So if that's the case, where do you think your home is going to fall on that list of homes that they're really going to push to sell? Near the top or the bottom?
Beautiful. Yep. Towards, I guess. Yeah, makes sense, to the bottom. Then to go there. They might not have fight as hard.
Yeah, and obviously more exposure, more potential agents looking equals more buyers. That equals more offers. And what does more offers equal for you, Glenn?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Close to that higher money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So breaking role play a little bit, just for my Aussie audiences, which is interesting for you, Bryan. We almost without exception don't have that selling agent, buying agent thing. I think you guys call it double ending, where it's just you, all goes to you. Almost without fail, it's all us. But I'll just give the guys a tweak to that. You can still talk about the other agents in your office or conjuncting agents in other offices. But more importantly, you could say exactly what Bryan said and then tweak it to other agents in your team, in your office, and the same sort of thing. Let us incentivize those other agents that are in my team because we want them to still be. So the principle is the same as what Bryan's saying is that, and the other thing I would just add to that is, and remember, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't actually sign and agree on the price until you're happy that it's high enough that we've done our job and covered that commission, So let's incentivize those other guys in my team, in our office, or in Bryan's case, on the MLS, the multi-listing service. Let's incentivize those. And if the price that comes in doesn't meet and cover to your expectations, what that is, then all you do is you negotiate with the buyers. And one thing I like, Bryan, is let me go get the buyer to pay that shortfall with my negotiation skills. Let me earn this amount rather than me just asking for it. So there's a few little tweaks on that to give it some Australian kind of context because we don't have an MLS. We don't have an MLS.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, and it's funny that you bring up the negotiation one because that's another one that I use, right? I have like 5 or 6 explanations for it. I just know that typically most agents, when they ask me that question, the reason I gave you that one is they want the more like technical one with a lot of words. So that's why I always go for that one, even though that one I gave you is one that I rarely ever use, right? I usually more the negotiation strategy, similar to what you just said, because to me it's quicker, more effective. And for most people, it just clicks, right? But what I want to do effectively is just give people a lot of tools for their arsenal. Because when you step up and you get that objection, if you have 6 responses, you're going to have a smile on your face because you know exactly what to say.
It's always like you've practiced them so much, you're saying, I need you to say it. Come on, say it. Just say it. Because I've heard that those objections are often the keys, that we need those things to close the sale. Like we need them. If they don't say it, well, what do I do all that training for, damn it?
Of course, yeah, seriously. And
nice,
I
man.
have that hat on too, like got objections, because like I'm ready for them.
Got the hat. I want that hat. Oh man, very nice, man. We've gone way over, man. So we've gone way over. Jesus, man. I'm so thankful for you giving us an hour of your time. Man, how can our guys, I loved what you just said there though, guys, and this is what I live by, because maybe not to the extent Bryan did, but I did pretty well when I was first learning some of these things. I learned and I wanted 6 things in my toolbox. I wanted to be able to have that discussion. Then I wanted to be able to say, now, Bryan, just for a minute, you're employing a professional negotiator, am I right? And of course, I say it. So, and you're considering listing a guy who has just proven to you that he's the worst negotiator by just saying, I'll do it for whatever you say. Do you think I'm doing okay as a negotiator so far on my fee? Okay, cool. Well, that's how hard I'm going to fight for you. Don't let it, and so we go down that path. But I wanted so many tools in my arsenal and I needed to know them off by heart that you could say anything and I've got it. So your stuff, I've seen it, man. You've sent it to me. It's magnificent. How can my guys find out? They go, okay, that Yankee dude, we call all Americans Yankees. I know that for you guys are Yankees down south or up north or something, right? For us, it's Americans. So some of my guys will be sitting there, this American guy, he knows his stuff. All right, I'm sold. Let me buy his thing. Let me see. How can they find out more about, well, you've mentioned you've got 1 billion free stuff on YouTube. So other than they can go there, they can connect on Facebook. How can they find out more to maybe get some of your magic stuff that you sent me?
Yeah, if they want to contact me directly, Facebook is your quickest avenue to get a response from me. Otherwise, anything that I offer is on my website. It's just my full name, bryancasella.com, and have at it. I have a tremendous and plethora of subjects and products. I mean, I have it all. everything that I've studied and learned and mastered, I do my very best to package it up and give it to somebody in a product that'll take maybe dozens or hundreds of hours of my research and study and practice and experience, and condense it into like a course of 1 or 2 hours just to give you the techniques. And this is the thing about what I teach, Glenn, that I see very few other people have, is when I give you a product and I teach you, I don't just go into the technical aspect of it. I give you the understanding and the inner game of it to go with it, because I believe it's the combination of that really makes you a force to be reckoned with. Because I can give you the technique, but if you have an understanding, a full understanding and mastery of the technique up here, then man, you're King Kong, you're Godzilla. You're just going over, just taking listings like crazy and snacking on them,
And sometimes, I tell you, isn't it interesting that sometimes once you do get that inner mastery of it, because I haven't thought about a script in like a decade.
Yeah.
And yet I still speak in pretty compelling language when I need to, because I got that understanding and that internalization. So the script became part of my everyday vernacular, I suppose,
Yes.
So that's the thing, is repeat listening to get it internalized. Then you can forget the script, because the way you talk is good copy. So very
Absolutely.
nice, man.
What you just described there is unconscious competence. There you go.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, guys. Bryan Casella, you need to hook him up. I will be dragging him down to Australia as soon as I can drag him out of that. I don't think we can ship the Lambo down here, man. But
get it over there.
Imagine that, driving up the east coast of Australia in that bad boy. We'll have to hire you one, man. Very awesome. Nice. All right, guys, keep an eye out for when we bring Bryan down under. And in the meantime, go avail yourself of some of his freebies online. And I can't endorse his product range enough. I've been talking Bryan into raising his prices because they're far too cheap, selling himself short. So while he's too cheap, go get him now, because if I have anything to do with it, he'll be doubling or tripling his prices, because his stuff is that good. It's like he's giving it away. All right, man. Bryan, thank you so much, my man.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right. Until next time, folks. Bye for now.
Wow. Well, there you go. I hope you liked the episode. If you liked that, then what you need to do is you need to subscribe. You need to get more of this craziness, because we got more are coming. I'm never standing still, and we've got so many more guests. We've got so many more strategies, more out-of-the-box thinking. So if you haven't subscribed, literally, you're like throwing away thousands of dollars. Because I tell you, if you haven't subscribed, you don't come back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find you, I'm going to market to you, and I'm going to charge you for the very stuff that on this podcast we give away for free. So whack that subscribe button on whatever your favorite podcast weapon of destruction is, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.